Hi, everyone, and welcome to Legal Limelight. I'm so excited today. We have an amazing guest. His name is Will Boychuck. We met this weekend. He's the owner of COPA brand protection platform, where he does takedowns and he does various solutions for brands who are facing intellectual property issues. This is definitely one that you're going to want to take a notepad on because the conference we were at, this is next level. It's a counterfeiting knockoff crisis that we're seeing. It's not just huge brands that are facing infringement and struggling with how to protect their intellectual property. We've entered a new era with AI and technology for counterfeiters to steal the IP of brands. So luckily we have people like Will who've created, equally taking advantage of technology, have created tools to allow us to compete and get ahead of the fakes. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Will.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're exactly right. There's a lot of buzz in social media and the news about artificial intelligence, and I think a lot of it is negative. When you're talking about artificial intelligence and generative AI, a lot of there are concerns about creators and their rights and whether they're being infringed and how they can stop it. But one thing that I really want to get across, especially with what we're building, is that you can use the same tools for good as well. So just as you can use artificial intelligence to defraud people, scam people, it also drastically can help when it comes to the detection of intellectual property infringement, counterfeiting, all these sort of issues that we're currently having can also be helped by artificial intelligence.
Detection is the word that we'll talk about a lot. A lot of brands come to us and they wait until it's a volume game and it's a major problem. So what are some tips that you have for brands on monitoring early? I have some ideas, aka using COPA, but let us know some of your tips.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll explain a little bit more specifically about what COPA does. We are a brand protection agency that focuses on small businesses. So a lot of our clients are less than 10-person companies. They've just recently realized that the infringement problem on a lot of these platforms are so above and beyond what they can do in-house. They sort of have to get some help. So what we do is we help them with the registration process. We help them register their IP, but our bread and butter is really being able to go out and do what you were just saying, which is detect the IP infringement. We do that through sort of like a recursive algorithm. We call it the scam intelligence algorithm. Essentially what it does is it takes in information from a counterfeit listing. So you provide us with a counterfeit listing first, and it does a few things. Firstly, it documents that listing. It takes a screenshot. It shows the product images, the text on the product. So like, the title, the description, it grabs the images. And then it downloads not only a screenshot, but also the raw HTML, which is just the sort of code that the web page is written on. Once we get all that information, the algorithm can then sort of recursively go back and start looking for other listings that are similar to the listing that we just entered. So for example, it might go out and it might look for listings with similar keywords, or it might go out with and search for the images in the particular listing. Each one of these listings, although they're similar, they're also slightly different. So there might be, different images used on one. It might be, described in a slightly different way. So when you start with one listing, from that one listing, you may find 5 additional listings. And then from those 5 additional listings, you might get what we call indicators. Those are the images, the text, the metadata. We then plug that back into the algorithm again, and then find 10 listings, and then 15 listings, and 20, and it goes on, and it really allows for a very quick, understanding of the intellectual property infringement that a particular brand's having, even though we just started with one counterfeit listing.
Wow.
Then, of course, once we document all that stuff, we then go into which listings are actually hurting the brand, which is a majority of the listings, but sometimes it may be a BuzzFeed article, that has your images or has the text or has the description that links back to your original product. And we don't want to remove that. That's good. That's good promotion for your business. So then we have a review team. We go in and we check which ones are infringing, which ones aren't infringing. And then we go through and we remove the ones, or we attempt to remove the ones that could be potentially damaging to a client.
It's fantastic. And I know that there's a lot of platforms that do this, right? And we've worked with almost every single vendor, but when you and I were talking I feel like you're at the forefront of the technology because it's just, this is the world we're in. It's exponential growth in tech. So you could be a good company, a year ago, but people like Will are working faster and better trying to figure it out. So can you tell us a little bit about like why you think you're different from some of the other bigger players in the market?
Absolutely. I think our main thing is honestly our pricing point. Our tagline is brand protection for everyone, and we truly mean that. Where brand protection should not only be accessible to the large brands, to the Nikes, to the Adidas, to the Louis Vuittons, who have thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to spend on their legal war chest when they encounter these large scale infringers. What we've noticed is that not only is there infringement of those large brands, and originally when I first started Copa, those were the targets that we tried to go after. We tried to go after, hey, Louis Vuitton, by the way, did you know that you have a counterfeiting problem? And obviously they do, and they have their own sort of built-in in-house solutions, which are wildly expensive, and probably pretty effective. But what we realized was that this problem affects small businesses almost more, or I would argue more than the large businesses, because the small businesses don't have a solution which can work with their wallet, work with the size of their business. So I mentioned this, I think, a little bit earlier, but our clients, they can't just dedicate hours per day trying to remove the thousands of counterfeit listings.
And they try.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
try.
And imagine if you're a 6-person team and you're just being able to get by with 6-person team, you want to expand. Now you have to eliminate 2 or 3 people on that team. All they're doing is they're going on Facebook, Amazon, Etsy, trying to remove all these counterfeit listings. Not only is the counterfeiting damaging your brand, but also the enforcement of those counterfeit listings are taking away critical resources for your team. So what we try and do is we try and go out and work with these small brands, try and make it as affordable as possible for them in order to essentially outsource the infringement detection and removal process. That's I think what makes us different from a lot of these other larger brand protection agencies, where it costs thousands of dollars per month, sometimes per year. And unfortunately, I understand why they charge that much, but it alienates the people that I think are experiencing the problem the most, which are these really small businesses that can't afford that.
Yeah, and I've been on the hunt. I've, like I said, I've worked with almost every single monitoring service, and at the end of the day, as a service provider, right? We used to do takedowns.
Yeah.
Why am I gonna spend a client's money, $900 an hour doing a takedown when there's people like you who are doing it way faster, way better? It's just, if it's part of a modern brand protection program having a program. And I loved meeting you, and we're definitely working together already with some of our current clients.
Absolutely.
Having this just be one of the pieces, one of the most important pieces in a brand protection program is this monitoring. And it
The,
leads to it leads to other things, because like as we talk about, takedowns end up becoming a game of whack-a-mole. So tell us a little bit about the work that your team does, not just on the takedown piece, but really gearing up to help lawyers like me who do the Schedule A type litigation to freeze the assets in the accounts of the infringers and help clients recoup some of the costs with litigation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I tend to think about it like 3 main columns. The first column is registration. In order to enforce your intellectual property, you have to make sure that it's registered. So we have
Correct.
partner organizations, we have partner law firms, where essentially, some clients come to us with no IP, some clients come to us with all their IP. For the clients with no registered IP, what we have to do is we have to, get their copyrights going, get their trademarks going. In some cases, we have to make sure that their patents are, ready to be enforced. That's column number 1. Column number 2 is the detection and the documentation. Having IP is great, but if you don't know and you can't really enforce it, it becomes a lot more valuable once you actually start enforcing it. That's our bread and butter. We go out, we find these listings, we document the listings, and in many cases, we're able to remove them. Then the third column, which we help for, is being able to prepare the data that we've collected into these legal cases where essentially we can then hand it off to, your firm in a nice, clean document. It shows the infringement, it shows jurisdictional issues, and it
It's
shows
beautiful.
seller. No,
We
exactly.
looked yeah.
The seller data, because all that information you need in order to have a very bulletproof case when you're taking it to, whether it's a Schedule A case, whether it's another case about against a specific infringer. You need to have this very powerful evidentiary data in order to make it go as smoothly as possible through the legal system.
Yeah, no, and it's so critical. I always tell we started our firm to be a next gen law firm. What does that mean? That means using technology. So if the counterfeiters and infringers are taking advantage of technology equally, we need to be. We need to be armed with every single tool possible. So if you or you know someone who's literally doing this manually and scanning, stop. Let's chat. Let's pull Will in because it's so much energy and time. And I have one client that came to us, and it's just such an emotional expense for them.
Mm.
They're wasting hours, and instead of innovating and creating and moving the business forward, they're dedicating so much time watching TikTok, watching Amazon, and making lists, which at a certain point, you just have to stop. You need a system and a program, and working with really good lawyers and companies like Will, who can create a process and a procedure for you so that you can sleep good at night knowing
Yeah,
that
I mean,
it's being taken care of.
you're exactly right when it comes to the emotional side of things, which I think that people don't necessarily realize when it comes to these small businesses. When it's counterfeiting, when you talk about it counterfeiting, in a general sense, you think, okay, Louis Vuitton, Adidas, this is just this is part of their business, right? Where their stuff is counterfeit. Hey, that's just going to happen. When it comes to these small businesses, it destroys them. It destroys them. We have clients that come to us say, look, I don't even want to create anymore, which is the most
Same.
heart-wrenching thing in the whole wide
Yeah.
world, where it's like this, we have artists that are not inspired anymore because why share their art with the world if it's just going to be ripped off? So, being able to have a comprehensive solution is just so important in protecting the truly beautiful things in life when, people with amazing talents, they don't want to create anymore because, hey, I'm just going to get ripped off. And now my once work clients are now going to be disappointed because when they order something that they think is from me, they're just going to get a crappy counterfeit product.
Now, it's so important. If there's one takeaway for anyone watching this, there's solutions out there that are affordable. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg, but having someone or a team monitor is absolutely critical. Okay, so I actually want to talk a little bit, Will, about you and how you started the company because I'm totally amazed. You're young, you're passionate, you have an amazing product. We've seen it, and we're using you for other clients. What made you start this company?
Yeah, so Copa has sort of went through a lot of transitions, and I think that the word of my journey has been pivot, if I can describe it in one word. Recently, we rebranded, so Copa is still pretty new. We used to be formerly QTI.ai, and QTI.ai, it originally started as a link shortener, so something that didn't have to do anything with brand protection whatsoever. But what we wanted to do and what I wanted to do, it started as sort of a high school project, just sort of a side thing where I wanted to learn more about web development, is just have a link shortener that was safe. A lot of link shorteners were being taken advantage of by scammers and again, by counterfeiters in order to spoof URLs. So what we did is I registered this domain name QTI.ai with the QT thinking like, oh, cute, tiny links. So we did that for a little bit. We realized that a lot of the abuse that was occurring on the link shortener that we just created were going to e-commerce platforms.
Yes.
So what we found out is that a great indicator for determining whether a website was legit or not is based on the images and the content that's found on that website. So we would collect all that information, we would store it in our database, and we'd say, okay, when we find similar websites, likely this is also a counterfeit website or something like that. Then we tried to get a step further, and I think that this is what really set us on the brand protection journey, is we are seeing all these counterfeit websites, we're seeing all these fakes. What can we actually do about them? and there are laws in place to actually enforce copyright and trademarks, So what we did is we reached out to the original artists of this artwork, and we said, hey, just so you know, your stuff's being ripped off. We'd love to see if we can get it down with your permission. And the response was just like, yes, we know that we're being infringed upon. We will do whatever it takes in order to try and get these taken down, including paying you for it. And that was the big thing with the link shortener is that's great, but it's not revenue generating. How do we
Yeah.
actually generate revenue? How do we make this a business? And that it just took off from there. As soon as we started getting clients, I'd say that 90 to 95% of our business right now is through referrals. We do a little bit of marketing, but I mean, mostly it's word of mouth. It's, hey, I've experienced this problem. I know that you guys are experiencing this problem. Copa was able to help us. Maybe they can help you.
It's so great. And I love how you talk about the power of pivoting. You never know. And I made a video about this the other day to young people saying, just get started. Stop thinking about your dream job and stop waiting. Just pick something, become really good at it, and then decide your next move based on that, or decide to double down based on that. So it's a common principle for most startups and entrepreneurs. You think you're going into a company doing one thing, but you have to have the open mind set to be able to pivot and solve problems, where it's about solving problems that are painful, that people are willing to pay for, and who you can help.
The one thing that I always try and tell the team is don't lose the momentum. My dad, he taught me about perseverance and always making sure, like, just keep going, keep going. The hardest step in any journey is always the first one. So once you start moving and once you start going, it's you want to keep the momentum, even if that momentum's in a different direction. As long as you continue to go, you're going to be very successful, and you're going to be able to find your niche, and you'll be able to be very successful no matter what.
It's so beautiful because it's not linear. It's
Oh,
not linear.
absolutely. Yeah.
My career went like this, like all over. But I always trusted in myself. I believed in myself, and I just every day tried to get better and learn more and get more skills, knowing that eventually I'll, get to the right place wherever that is. So I love that he said that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun journey. It wouldn't be fun if it were easy. But it's one step at a time, keeping the momentum, making sure that, what you're doing, very client based. So whatever we're doing and however we're succeeding, we make sure that our clients also succeed. And that's the formula to a really good business model, I think.
Yeah, and it's cool that like Will and I were at this event with, 200 plus Shark Tank companies, and hearing them listen to their problems, but also hearing about what is working for them from a business standpoint. It's great because I think it allows us to better service our clients by meeting them where they are.
Absolutely.
A lot of lawyers and service providers will just say, I do this one thing. I wait for clients to come to me. And why would I do any other sort of marketing or can reach out? And I think the world of legal is changing.
Mhm.
As I am saying this, I'm literally standing my camera on The New Rules of Marketing and PR by David Meerman Scott. And if you haven't read this book, every single person needs to read this book. But we are in a new world where reaching clients directly is critical. I think the small, medium-sized business, they're the best clients. I love them. Getting able to work with a founder that can approve something quickly instead of having to go through like 7 chains of approval, it's amazing. And getting to see the benefit of knowing that you're helping them and working with them as a partner, I think it's fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about the kinds of things that you do to actually learn the client's industry and support them to help develop the AI to make it better?
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things that I appreciate you saying there is the small to medium-sized businesses.
Mm.
I think something else that differentiates ourselves from other brand protection agencies is we're in the same shoes. Like, like with our clients, we are also a small to medium-sized business, and we're just a small business trying to help other small businesses. And every one of our clients, whenever they onboard, the first person they talk to is my mom.
I
my
love
my
that.
business
Yes.
partner is my mom, and Cheryl, she's awesome and she is really, really good. And we make such a good team where I'm more of the technical side and she's more of the administrative side. So apart from that, our clients, all of our clients have Cheryl's number. A lot of our clients have my just personal cell phone number. If they have an infringement, they have an issue going on, doesn't matter where I am, what time of day, they have my cell phone number. They know I'm going to pick up. That is something that you are never going to be able to get with some of these larger businesses. And that's something that as we continue to grow and as we continue to bring on more clients, is something that's really important to us because you have to know the brand that you're enforcing. If you don't know the intellectual property and to a certain level, you have to know them at a very, very intimate level where you have to know the exact copyrights that they have. You have to know the trademarks that they have. You need to know the classes of the trademarks. You need to know the patents, what types of patents, and pair all that with a reasonable strategy to actually enforce, this stuff to get it taken down. What I love about your firm is how creative you guys are, where it's trying to come up with any different type of strategy in order to get the solution
Anything.
that we want, right? Where it's
Yeah.
you're just trying to get the content removed, or you're just trying to get an account frozen, or you're trying to do that. And there are 100 ways to do it. Let's try a majority of them in order to figure out which is the best so that we can recreate that in order to have success down the line.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that because you're right. Like it's like the one-legged stool approach, right? So we tell clients, you can't just rely on takedowns. And it's why you guys don't just rely on takedowns. You're gathering the evidence in preparation for another step, which is these litigations, and actually enforcing in a more aggressive way. So when we work with clients, we do it holistically and just say, you're going to try like 6 or 7 different things. That's what a comprehensive program is. Some of
Yeah.
the things may work. Let's double down on those.
Yeah.
Some of the things may not work. Now we know we don't have to put a lot of money there, but figuring out whether it's the takedowns with the litigations, with cease and desists, depending on how you use them, they can be really effective. Whether you're doing raids and going after some of the actual bad actors, it's a combination. And I really am so grateful for you coming on the show and talking with us about a really, really important piece, which is probably the beginning funnel. Like when you're looking at this, when companies get knocked off, I think, Will, you're at the beginning of the funnel where it's, I'm knocked off, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm going to watch them and I'm going to take them down.
Yeah.
And then the next evolution is, okay, we've done this for a year. They're coming back stronger, or they're removing the images but still selling the product. What do we do now? That's when you do the litigations. If those litigations become a game of whack-a-mole, but you're still doing well and you're gathering money because of the litigations, that's when you go after the supply chain. So it's this comprehensive program but it really all starts with, number one, making sure you have your IP, but really monitoring and having some sort of takedown program. So
Absolutely.
I'm super grateful for you coming on today and talking with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. So Will, where's the best place that people can follow you and connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. The Instagram handle is copa.ai. Just look up Copa Brand Protection. My name is Will Boychuck. You can find me on LinkedIn pretty easily. I'm always very active. And then we also just released a new website, which is also copa.ai. So we have all my contact information there, as well as Cheryl's contact information and forms and more information about our services. So if you're interested, check it out.
So amazing. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. And thanks, everyone. We're here every Thursday, 12 o'clock Eastern.